Hello all. This is XE Commander, XGC for short. I just wanted to do like a little introductory story about my experience and the intro to the cigar world. But first, I want to share a little bit of story, what's going on around here. So as you can tell, this is Tobacco Havana in the Cypress area. Now next door is a pizza place. Right behind me is a liquor store. And I'm not saying this is a bad neighborhood. This is actually kind of a peaceful, nice, family-oriented type neighborhood. But there is a Cypress side and there's the Cypress Section 8 side, almost walking distance from each other. On the liquor store next door, there's a sign that says, "There's worth, nothing in here worth dying for." Now, I don't want to alarm anybody, but this is Texas, and that's why some of us around here, you know, need I say more? Now, my first time getting into cigars, believe it or not, actually my gateway drug was hookah. Hookah got me into start into smoking cigars, and it was those little cheesy little cigars that comes in a pack. People consider them like a cigarillos, but they're not because they're technically considered as a cigar because the leaf is not a paper; it's an actual leaf as a wrapper. So it's not a paper wrapper; it's actually a leaf wrapper. And it was the Al Capones. That was my first introduction to getting into cigars. Later on, I found out that I just have expensive taste, and it's just gone up from there. Now, if you watch my previous video, you already know and you already made up your mind what kind of cut you want on a cigar. And next up is basically what kind of lighter would you like? Do you prefer matches? Do you prefer a soft flame? Do you prefer a torch? I say depending on your environment. And of course, depending on the cigar's ring gauge as well. Now, if you light up the cigar the way I light it up, like I toast it first, yes, it does use a lot of gas, but that's how I prefer it. I toast the first, get a good amber going before I cut the cigar. So this way, whatever fuel or carcinogen will go through and taint the taste of the tobacco. That's the reason why I do it. So after lighting it, then cut it, then blow out through the cigar, and if there's any excess uh, fuel, smell, or scent will be blown through the cigar. You won't have that issue. And everybody got their own stories. So later on, after the Al Capones, I ended up going into the Romeo and Julieta, which a lot of people had was considered like their first experience when it comes to the like cigars, or Romeo and Julieta, depending who you're talking to. For me, it was that the Perdomo, and if I remember correctly, the Avo was always around, but that was back then before. I believe it was long before Davidoff ended up buying out the Avo cigar, AVO. I just call it Avo. Some people just pronounce it AVO. But I've been smoking Avo way back when, even when I had issues with the draw, I still smoked them. That was my go-to stick. Now, my favorite Perdomo at the time, and sadly they no longer make it. It's the one with the red cellophane, not the yellow, The yellow is a Connecticut. That's definitely for beginners. But I like that red Sylvan because I remember correctly. That's like it had a little spice. I think they stopped making that like years ago, at least 10 to 15 years ago, if not longer. So that was my itch, like getting into it. Perdomo, Romeos, and the Avos were my three go tos back then. After years go by, I no longer smoke Romeos as much. Every once in a while I do, but I hardly smoke Romeos. And I definitely hardly smoke Perdomos unless it was given to me. But oddly enough, I still like, if you haven't seen some of my previous videos, I do like a good Avo, like this old Avo XO. And if I remember correctly, I think I still have that picture. I found an old tube in comparison between the nut and the new one. But as years go by, all of a sudden, Placencia popped up out of nowhere. Not necessarily as a tobacco distributor, as a cigar manufacturer. And it's like, oh, this is cool. So now they have their line, and I like their cigars. And of course, the Padrones, you can't really go wrong with those. And every once in a while, get the Boulevard. And God forbid if my friend kind of tease me with a Cuban Boulevard, which is like still illegal to be sold in the United States. And yes, I've had people come in trying to sell me Cubans to sell in the shop. It's like, nope, technically that is still illegal, and I can't do anything about it. Now, if I did what the colleague wanted me to do, he straight up told me to kick them out of the shop. It's like, okay, well, thankfully they just left after they tell them like can't do anything about it. Thankfully, it's just gone on their own way. But hope everybody is having a good time. It's kind of rainy over here right now, but it's officially, well, December 28th. Probably going to be the last video for me on this year. See you guys next year. Hope you guys have a great adventure out there. Be adventurous, be happy, and always be blessed.